Before we start diving into the story, please take a second to like this video and subscribe. It only takes a second, but it will help the channel grow. Thank you for your interest in our channel. In the cool, gray light of a Chicago morning, I awake to the quiet weight of loneliness settling over my small, chilly apartment. The worn walls, steeped in decades of history, seem to murmur secrets of past lives while the frost-kissed windows reflect nothing but a stark solitude. As I drag myself to the mirror, I can't help but question the person staring back at me. Who have I become after the divorce? Every sunrise forces me to confront the emptiness inside, a reminder of a life that once held promise. Determined to reclaim even a flicker of my former self, I've begun a series of rituals that now feel both desperate and futile. I scribble my raw thoughts into a battered journal, experiment with new healthy recipes in the hope that nourishing my body might soothe the ache in my soul, and awkwardly dab my fingers in watercolor paints, striving to capture a hint of joy on paper. Yet every attempt dissolves as quickly as it appears, leaving behind only the residue of isolation and regret. Mid-morning, as I stand by the kitchen counter stirring a bland bowl of oatmeal, the unexpected ring of my phone slices through the quiet. The name Cody flashes on the screen, and I answer with a tentative greeting. His voice, warm and resolute, reaches across the distance with an invitation that feels like a lifeline. "Mom, there's a gathering tonight, a meeting of people who, like us, are searching for a way out of the darkness," he says, his tone filled with a sincere urgency that cuts through my despair. In that moment, his words kindle a spark of hope, stirring a mixture of anticipation and dread deep within me. Though uncertainty tugs at every fiber of my being, Cody's invitation becomes a promise of something new, a chance to break free from the chains of a past marred by loss. I settle at my desk, pen trembling in hand, and carefully inscribe the possibility of a fresh start. I picture a warm, lively space where strangers share hidden stories and wounds might begin to heal. Wrestling with conflicting emotions, fear, longing, and a fierce desire to reconnect, I resolve that tonight I will step into the unknown. I let out a long, slow breath, feeling the weight of my old routines crumble, replaced by a determined pulse that dares to believe that even in loneliness, change is possible. The night unfolds as Cody and I step off the bus in downtown Detroit, our arrival marked by the clamor of city streets and a palpable buzz in the air. The industrial district reveals a transformed landscape, a sprawling art space tucked between renovated warehouses, where exposed brick and vibrant murals serve as the backdrop to a radical reimagining of community. As we cross the threshold into this creative enclave, I'm instantly captivated by the atmosphere. The room pulses with spontaneous energy, and every corner brims with art that feels as raw and unpredictable as life itself. Inside, the space is a swirling fusion of modern art installations and impromptu performances. Groups huddle in animated clusters around tables cluttered with sketches, sculptures, and digital projections that shift like restless memories. In one corner, a man passionately explains the interplay between jazz rhythms and visual abstraction to a rapt audience, while nearby, a cluster of young women share quiet laughter over coffee, their conversations hinting at secrets and ambitions. I can almost feel the heartbeat of the room, a blend of unbridled creativity and an unspoken yearning for connection. It isn't long before I'm drawn into a conversation with a man whose presence stands out amid the eclectic throng. Tall and confident, with an easy smile that seems to light up the dim room, he introduces himself as Travis. His handshake is firm, his tone enthusiastic yet sincere, and he wastes no time pulling me into a dialogue that feels both intellectually challenging and warmly inviting. "You look like someone who's seen the world change in a heartbeat," he says, his eyes sparkling with an unspoken understanding. Our conversation quickly evolves into an exploration of ideas, of art as a form of healing, of music that reverberates with untold stories, and of a life that dares to embrace its own imperfections. As Travis and I weave through clusters of artists and performers, our exchange is punctuated by moments of laughter, thoughtful silences, and candid revelations about past failures and hopeful futures. The connection is palpable. Each word feels like a step toward a life I'd almost forgotten existed, a life where vulnerability isn't a weakness, but a gateway to transformation. Amid the vibrant chaos of the evening, I sense that tonight isn't merely about art or conversation. It's about rediscovering that spark of possibility, even if it's cloaked in uncertainty and the residue of past pain. By the time we find ourselves pausing near a makeshift stage, the buzz of the art space has enveloped me completely. I realize that, despite the initial shock of stepping out of my comfort zone, I'm finally beginning to see color in the grayscale of my recent days. Each shared glance, each unexpected smile from a stranger, weaves together a tapestry of human connection that defies the numbness I'd grown accustomed to. In this unexpected invitation to join a community of creators, I find a subtle promise that life, with all its imperfections and surprises, still holds the power to awaken the spirit and transform even the most broken of hearts. The neon glow of Detroit's night enfolds us as Travis leads the way through bustling streets that pulse with an electric energy. Our conversation carries us far from the art space, past clusters of late-night revelers and quiet storefronts where the glow of streetlights dances on wet pavement. Every step feels like a rebellion against the numbness of my recent days, each footfall a small beat rekindling a forgotten rhythm in my heart. As we meander through narrow alleys and under arched bridges, the city becomes a canvas painted with shifting hues of blues, reds, and golds. There's something about the night that strips away our pretenses, Travis remarks, his voice low and inviting, mingling with the soft murmur of distant traffic. I nod, the words resonating as if they were my own silent confession. The cool air stings my cheeks, but it also awakens a raw vulnerability, a daring to feel beyond the scars of solitude. We find ourselves at a quiet spot beside a historic bridge, where the murmur of the nearby river seems to whisper secrets of past lovers and faded dreams. The cityscape, alive with shimmering reflections, frames us in a moment that feels almost surreal. I used to think darkness was my enemy, Travis confesses suddenly, his eyes fixed on the water below, but now I see it's where the stars shine brightest. His words, spoken with an honest vulnerability, ignite something fragile yet undeniably potent within me. In the charged silence that follows, our eyes meet with an intensity that speaks louder than words. The world around us fades into a muted backdrop as our shared gaze becomes a silent promise of something new and transformative. With a hesitant, almost tentative motion, Travis reaches out, his hand brushing against mine. That small contact sends a spark of electricity coursing through my veins, a spark that rapidly kindles into a blaze of possibility. We stand there for what feels like an eternity, suspended between the past and the uncertain promise of the future. Then, as if guided by the quiet insistence of our hearts, our lips meet in a kiss that is both tender and fierce, a kiss that carries the weight of our unspoken hopes and unhealed wounds. It is a fleeting moment, yet in its brevity, it captures the essence of rebirth. In that kiss, I sense not just the warmth of another's embrace, but the first real pulse of life returning to a soul that had long been dormant. As we slowly part, the cool night air wraps around us once more, and the lingering taste of that kiss serves as both a reminder and a promise. For the first time in a long while, I allow myself to believe that amidst the darkness, there is a spark waiting to ignite a new beginning. The kiss on the bridge becomes a symbol, a fragile yet defiant declaration that even the most shattered heart can dare to love again. Every morning, I step into my favorite downtown Detroit cafe, a small haven where the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingles with quiet chatter, offering me a brief escape from my turbulent inner world. The cozy space, adorned with vintage posters and worn wooden tables, has become my daily refuge. I exchange friendly nods with the barista, whose warm smile seems to understand my silent battles, and I greet the regulars whose stories, though fleeting, make me feel like part of a larger tapestry. Each conversation, however trivial it may seem, subtly reminds me that I'm not entirely alone in my quest to rebuild my life. On one seemingly ordinary day, as I retrieve my mail at the door, I find an envelope with no return address, a plain, unmarked letter that immediately sends a shiver down my spine. The note inside is brief, but loaded with ominous hints about Travis. It warns me of shadows from his past and whispers of connections with dangerous, unsavory characters. I read the words over and over, each sentence hammering home the possibility that the charismatic man who swept me off my feet might be hiding more than I ever imagined. The letter's anonymity only deepens the mystery, and makes my pulse quicken with both fear and an unsettling curiosity. Throughout the day, as I navigate the familiar rhythm of my routine, strange coincidences begin to surface. While waiting for the metro, I overhear a snippet of conversation, a mention of a name I recognize from one of Travis's offhand remarks. Later, during a brisk walk down a side street, I encounter a face from my past whose cryptic comment about old debts leaves me reeling. Every unexpected encounter and fragmented conversation weaves a pattern of foreboding that suggests the secrets hinted at in that letter are inching closer to my reality. At work, while trying to reestablish a semblance of normalcy, my mind won't let me forget the warning. I sit silently in the break room, replaying the day's coincidences like fragments of a puzzle, each one challenging my growing doubts. My admiration for Travis is now tangled with a gnawing suspicion. Every time his smile flits across my memory, I wonder what hidden story lies behind it, what unspoken truths are buried beneath the charm that once made me feel alive. The internal dialogue is relentless. Can I trust him, or is his allure just a facade for something darker? By the end of the day, as twilight casts long shadows across the city, I realize that these signs are not random but deliberate signals urging me to be vigilant. The anonymous letter and the day's uncanny events have shattered my fragile peace, replacing it with a heightened state of alertness. With each new interaction and every whispered secret carried on the wind, I sense that the past is creeping into my present, threatening to unravel the tentative hope I've begun to nurture. Now, more than ever, I must decide whether to confront these ominous revelations or let fear dictate the course of my fragile heart. Under the neon glow of Boston's Retro Bar, I wander through an evening that once promised refuge, now tinged with bitter disillusionment. The bar exudes the charm of old jazz nights, its plush velvet seats and muted brass instruments echoing secrets of a bygone era. As I settle into a shadowed corner, my attention is inadvertently captured by a hushed conversation at a nearby table. Two patrons, their voices low and urgent, mention a name I know all too well, Travis. One of them reveals that he's been seen with a young, captivating woman named Melissa, a revelation that pricks the fragile skin of my newfound hope. Stunned and heartbroken, I leave the comforting anonymity of the dimly lit bar. My mind races with questions as I trace the faint whispers of betrayal swirling in Boston's cool night air. Determined to confirm my suspicions, I follow subtle clues and discreet fragments of conversation about Travis's double life. The city reveals a clandestine network of opulent dinners at elite restaurants and secret meetings in an extravagant mansion on the outskirts, a world that starkly contrasts with the intimate connection I once believed we shared. In one surreptitious encounter, I meet a well-dressed gentleman at a quiet late-night diner who speaks in measured tones about Travis's lavish rendezvous and his association with influential figures whose wealth cloaks ulterior motives. Every word he utters compounds my pain, painting a picture of a man leading a double existence built on facades of success and hollow promises. The luxurious settings and whispered escapades serve as a stark counterpoint to the intimacy and sincerity I had clung to during our stolen moments, such as that unforgettable kiss on the bridge. When I finally confront Travis, the conversation is no longer the gentle exchange of heartfelt confessions, but a brittle clash of accusations and wounded pride. His voice, once warm and inviting, now carries a cool edge as he dismisses my concerns with rehearsed deflections. "I never said anything about Melissa," he insists, eyes flickering with a mixture of indignation and guilt, yet his tone reveals more than his words could hide. The intensity of our confrontation, punctuated by sharp retorts and lingering silences, shatters the delicate trust we had built, leaving me to grapple with the realization that the romanticized memories were nothing more than illusions. In that fraught moment, I understand that the kiss on the bridge was merely the opening act in a far more tragic play of deception. The betrayal, once a distant whisper, now echoes loudly in my heart, dismantling the fragile hope I had nurtured. With each stinging word exchanged and every painful admission, I am forced to face the harsh reality. Love can be a labyrinth of shadows, and sometimes the person you yearn to believe in is the very architect of your undoing. Late one rain-soaked evening, I find myself drawn to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Detroit, a space transformed into an underground art gallery where shattered relics of urban decay intertwine with bursts of modern creativity. The walls are adorned with provocative murals and installations that seem to mirror the chaos within me. Tonight, I have arranged a meeting with Travis, a confrontation long overdue. My heart pounds as I step inside, every step echoing like the beat of a distant, anxious drum. Inside the cavernous space, the muted hum of experimental music and the scattered silhouettes of avant-garde art pieces set a stage that feels both surreal and charged with tension. I call out his name, and Travis appears from behind a cluster of abstract canvases. His eyes, once warm and inviting, now reveal a flicker of unease as he approaches me. Without preamble, I launch into a barrage of questions about the anonymous letters and the cryptic encounters that have haunted me for weeks. Travis, explain these shadows from your past, your connections, your secrets, I demand, my voice a mix of anger and despair. He hesitates, his gaze darting around as if searching for an escape in the chaotic artistry surrounding us. I've made mistakes, he finally murmurs, his tone defensive yet laced with regret. There are debts I never managed to settle, and choices I wish I could undo. His words are halting, and I can feel the weight of his hidden truths pressing down on us both. Every sentence he utters only deepens the maze of uncertainty, leaving me stranded in a labyrinth of conflicting emotions. Before I can press further, the heavy creak of a door interrupts us. Cody stands there, his youthful face marred by disappointment and hurt. In his hands, he clutches a bundle of evidence, photos, receipts, and overheard conversations that paint a damning picture of Travis's double life. "Mom, I can't stand by and watch you be deceived any longer," he declares, his voice trembling with a mix of anger and sorrow. The confrontation escalates into a raw and explosive scene as Cody's revelations shatter any remnants of denial I had clung to. Tears mingle with angry words as accusations fly between us. My heart wavers between the lingering embers of love for the man I once trusted and the searing pain of betrayal. Each new revelation forces me to confront the bitter truth. The passion that once kindled hope now fuels an internal storm of grief and disillusionment. The warehouse, with its jagged edges and stark contrasts, becomes a mirror reflecting the turmoil inside, a space where art and anguish merge, and where every whispered admission and every heated retort drives us further into the depths of an emotional labyrinth. At a secluded country estate, nestled amid sprawling lawns and twilight-draped trees, a private party buzzes with a mix of high society pretension and underlying tension. It's a gathering of old friends and new faces, socialites, artists, and influential figures mingling under a veneer of civility. Tonight, however, the air is charged with something far more volatile than small talk and clinking glasses. I stand near a tastefully decorated lounge area, my heart heavy with determination as I search the room for Travis. Every whispered laugh and measured smile seems to hide a secret, every sidelong glance a silent admission of deceit. I can feel the eyes of acquaintances upon me, none suspecting the storm that is about to break. The facade of the party, the polished conversations and genteel demeanor, mask the turbulent emotions swirling inside me. I finally find him in a secluded corner, his presence incongruous with the festive atmosphere. Travis is talking quietly with a couple of well-dressed individuals, his smile strained. With every step I take towards him, my pulse quickens. The ambient chatter fades into a backdrop of heightened tension, as if the room itself is waiting for the confrontation to unfold. "Travis, we need to talk now," I say, my voice steady but laced with undeniable authority. The conversation halts abruptly, heads turn, and for a moment, the party falls into an uneasy silence. Travis's eyes dart around as if looking for an escape, but there is nowhere to hide here. Before he can muster a reply, my son Cody appears at my side, his face flushed with anger and hurt. "Enough with your lies, Travis!" he exclaims, his voice resonating with the raw pain of betrayal. Cody's words slice through the charged atmosphere, drawing murmurs of shock from the surrounding guests. "Mom, I have all the evidence, your trust, our family's trust, shattered by your deceit." The confrontation escalates rapidly. With every accusation, the carefully constructed facade of Travis's life crumbles further. "I was afraid of being vulnerable," he stammers, his tone half apologetic, half defensive. But his confession is drowned out by the collective fury in the room. I seize the moment, my voice rising above the murmurs of dismay. Your excuses mean nothing when the truth is laid bare for all to see. How could you risk not just my heart, but the trust of our family? The explosion of emotion is both cathartic and devastating. Relatives, friends, and even acquaintances, drawn into the drama, begin voicing their own disillusionment. The air thickens with accusations and pleas for honesty. In the midst of this chaos, I see Cody's eyes glisten with tears, not just of anger, but of profound sorrow for a family broken by deception. This raw, unfiltered outburst of truth leaves no room for pretense. As the party devolves into a scene of public reckoning, I realize that every carefully crafted lie has led to this explosive moment. Standing amid the wreckage of our shared illusions, I feel a deep, wrenching pain, but also a glimmer of resolve. Tonight, with every harsh word and tearful admission, we have come face to face with our darkest truths, setting the stage for a future where authenticity, however painful, may finally prevail. I arrive in a quaint coastal town in New England, where the rhythmic crash of waves against rugged cliffs and the gentle murmur of the tide offer a stark contrast to the relentless chaos of the city. The narrow, winding streets, lined with weathered brick buildings and warm, inviting storefronts, seem to whisper promises of fresh beginnings and healing. Here, away from the bitter echoes of betrayal and family strife, I feel the soft pull of a new chapter beckoning me forward. Every morning, as I stroll along the harbor and breathe in the salty air, I notice subtle changes within myself. The pain of past deceptions and the weight of shattered illusions gradually give way to a quiet resilience. I start each day with a long walk along the beach, the steady sound of the surf acting as a gentle reminder that even after the most turbulent storms, life can settle into a soothing rhythm. In these moments, I understand that healing isn't about forgetting the past. It's about learning to embrace it as part of the journey toward a truer version of myself. In the heart of town, I discover a small, charming bookshop that becomes my refuge. Its creaking wooden floors and rows of well-loved novels offer a comforting escape from the solitude I once knew so well. I find myself striking up conversations with the owner, a kind soul with wise eyes and a ready smile, whose stories of the town and its quirky residents inspire me to look at life with renewed curiosity. In the evenings, I attend community gatherings, casual art workshops, impromptu poetry readings, and local music sessions, each encounter reinforcing the notion that there is beauty in vulnerability and strength in community. One evening, while enjoying a quiet dinner at a local seaside cafe, I recall the memory of that first kiss on the bridge, a moment that once ignited hope and passion, and later left me reeling from betrayal. Now, that memory transforms into a lesson. Every fleeting emotion, every painful encounter, serves as a stepping stone on the path toward self-discovery. It reminds me that love, in all its forms, has the power to both wound and heal, and that the scars I carry are not marks of weakness but badges of survival. In the soft glow of twilight, as the sun dips below the horizon, I pen down new stories in my journal, a collection of reflections on loss, resilience, and rebirth. Each word on the page feels like a conscious act of letting go, a deliberate choice to accept the past and forge a new, authentic future. With every step I take in this serene town, I embrace the truth that my journey is not defined by betrayal or regret, but by the endless possibilities that arise when one dares to trust again. The echoes of old pain now serve as quiet reminders of lessons learned, guiding me as I confidently carve out a path toward a life filled with hope, creativity, and genuine connection.